What's going on, guys?
Poor guy.
Not much.
Nice one.
What's up?
How you doing, officer?
Is this your car?
Well, it's a rent right now. My car's been shot.
The Des Moines Police Department is currently embroiled in a legal issue after it was sued for the sum of $75,000. During the arrest of the plaintiff, it is alleged that the agency caused both physical and emotional harm to the plaintiff.
Taking off. Put it in drive and I.
Okay.
Yeah, officer.
So it's your car, though? Did they give you a
It's
fob or
not
something?
my car, officer.
Did
My
they
car
give you a
is-
key fob or something? Or?
You ready, record?
Yes, sir. Officer.
An investigation has been opened into this matter. Investigations and legal proceedings have been initiated so that we may determine how credible the claims are and ensure that justice is done for all involved parties.
Shake on the ground, and your buddy's giving me the idea that maybe he's got a gun.
Officer Kyle Tice, a seasoned law enforcement officer, handled a routine traffic stop in a manner that was both professional and efficient. He was concerned about the well-being of everyone and questioned everything from firearms to drugs in great detail. The unruffled demeanor with which Officer Tice approached the situation, as well as his continuous questioning of key topics.
There's no shake on the floor?
Officer.
No.
Okay.
It's
All
a
right.
rainstorm.
And you don't have any weapons on you, you said?
Officer, that is correct.
You don't got no weapons on you?
Officer, no, sir.
Go ahead and step out, Montre.
Actually, what I did?
Yep, I just told you why. 3 times. You want me to recap again?
Officer, look, my hands is up.
Yep, your hands are up, and now I'm asking you to step out of the car.
I gave you my ID.
Demonstrated his commitment to preserving public safety on the highways. Officer Tice's demeanor shifted, and he took on an aggressive tone despite the fact that the driver had been helpful up until this point.
Go to jail. I would expect you to please listen. I mean, I told you I'm a cop. Face the car when you step out. Face the car when you step out. Face the car when you step out. Don't flex. Don't flex. I don't know what you're doing, man, but you need to knock that off. I mean, your heart is thumping, dude. Like, you're beaten.
Officer, please, don't.
Don't what? Have a seat.
Okay.
Have a seat. I think that your buddy has a gun, so I need you to step into the car.
You think my
Step
buddy
in-
has a gun?
He's acting funny. Step in the car, please.
Officer,
If you don't step in the car, you're going to jail for sure.
Tice reached for his handcuffs while exuding an air of power, and he used them to bind the driver. Even if the driver cooperated with the officer's demands, the officer's actions nevertheless presented an unsettling display of power, and the unwarranted use of force frightened the witnesses.
Somebody's sitting there like that, like there's a gun right where you know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, like, that's what happened.
The lawsuit was settled for a total of $75,000, with the city agreeing to pay each of the plaintiffs $25,000 as part of the agreement. Despite this, the ruling sheds light on prospective issues that may arise in the future in legal matters. Officer Tice is the subject of yet another formal complaint, and other law enforcement personnel have been accused of engaging in racial profiling and arbitrary detentions. The fact that the City Council did not pass an ordinance to outlaw pretextual stops means that a great deal of unresolved business remains. An unfortunate event that has stoked controversy led to the arrest of a black quarterback by a law enforcement officer who discovered bird droppings on the quarterback's vehicle. The quarterback, whose identity has been omitted to protect his privacy, was involved in an incident that took place after he parked his vehicle close to a nearby park.
Bird shit?
Yeah,
That ain't bird shit.
I promise you that's bird doo-doo.
I promise you it's not, though.
I swear to God that's bird doo-doo.
Well, I swear to God it's not, because I just tested it and that turned pink.
You can see it on the windshield.
That's not bird poop.
I swear to God that's bird doo-doo.
That's not bird poop.
I swear to
That's a lot of
God.
bird. That's a lot of bird shit, man.
I tried to clean it last night at the gas station. You can.
I can still wipe it off.
It's bird doo-doo.
Alright, okay. No.
On the hood of his automobile, unbeknownst to him, a filthy deposit had been left behind by a flying bird. An officer arrived on the scene after receiving a report from a concerned resident and questioned the quarterback about the claimed damage done to his vehicle. The officer's questions focused on whether the quarterback was responsible for the damage. The officer made the choice to arrest the quarterback, notwithstanding his explanation, citing a questionable charge of vandalism as the basis for his judgment. Concerns have been raised as a result of the incident over the practice of racial profiling, as well as the disproportionate targeting of people of color by police enforcement. A substance that appeared to be cocaine was found in the vehicle that the quarterback was driving, which led to the controversy that surrounded him. However, additional testing established beyond a reasonable doubt that it was, in fact, bird poop and not an unlawful substance. The quarterback's reputation was severely damaged as a result of the fraudulent test results, which generated an outcry. The quarterback may now exhale a sigh of relief now that this information has been revealed, although at the same time, questions are being raised about the accuracy and reliability of the initial testing protocols. By 2010, the police crime lab considered discontinuing methamphetamine and cocaine testing kits. Technology and the need for more precise and efficient drug identification led to the decision. The outmoded kits typically produced equivocal or incorrect results, hindering drug-related prosecutions. To assure high-quality forensic analysis, the department sought newer, more advanced testing methods. This innovative effort is intended to improve the crime lab's ability to combat the ever-changing drug crime landscape and provide justice in the face of illicit drugs.
Yes, my ID. Sorry, yes, my ID, sir.
I don't.
Huh?
I don't.
You don't have any ID? Why are you filming me? Why are you filming me?
Am I being detained?
What?
Can I leave? Am I being detained?
For a moment. Why don't you go ahead and shut that off?
An uncomfortable situation develops when a man records an incident with a camera and focuses on a law enforcement official in the middle of the action.
No, actually, no.
Turn around and face away from me. Do you have any weapons on you? Do you have any weapons on you? Do you have any weapons, sir? Yes or no? Do you have any weapons? Yes. Answer me yes or no, please. Relax.
I don't consent to searches, sir.
I'm doing this for my safety. This is a pat-down search. I have no idea why you're filming the police department, the cars in the parking lot, or filming me. Leave it alone.
He addresses the officer with self-assurance as he asserts his legal rights and inquires as to whether or not he's being held against his will. His tone conveys a sense of resolve. There's a healthy dose of both doubt and suspicion in the air, as well as a strong determination to make sure that accountability is maintained.
What's your
Stay
name and badge
still.
number?
Okay?
What's
Just
your name and
relax.
badge number?
You got any weapons on you?
No, I don't. What's your name and badge
What's this?
number?
It's not a knife, is it?
I don't have no knives on me. I don't have no weapons. I swear. Can I have your name and badge number, please?
Yeah, I'll give it to you in a second.
Okay. I'm not doing nothing illegal, bro.
I don't know why you're filming us. Why are you walking along filming everything? Filming me.
Can I turn the camera around so they can see us?
No, turn around. They can listen to us. You got a recording. Leave it alone.
Why can't I turn the camera
Why
around?
don't you listen? Why do you have a difficult time following instructions? Why are you filming me?
I don't want to answer your question, sir.
Why?
Get your supervisor out here, please.
No.
1564 is your badge number.
That's my badge number. That's right.
Okay, 1564.
Yep. Detective Kyler. Kyler.
Am I being detained?
You're free to go.
I'm free to go.
Don't videotape me no more.
The man's steady hand and unyielding dedication to defending his rights are obvious, which attracts the attention of spectators and emphasizes the significance of individual liberties. As the footage from the camera continues to play, the unfolding dialogue highlights concerns about the precarious equilibrium that exists between personal liberties and governmental restrictions.
Okay, so why was I detained?
I wasn't the officer, I have no idea.
For filming, I was detained.
Okay. If you were filming around a government building, a city government building, or anything, I'd want to come and see who you are too.
Okay, under suspicion of what crime was I detained for, though?
I don't want to see why you're filming the police department. We don't know who you are or what.
Is it a crime to film the police department, bro?
No, it's.
What's your badge number? 604?
Yep. You want me to write my name down for you?
Yes, please.
Sure.
This is ridiculous, guys.
The individual kept his position and steadfastly refused to provide approval for any searches to be conducted on his person. He calmly but firmly emphasized to the police that he was documenting the incident for the sake of protecting his own safety. His commitment was steadfast. His palm was securely wrapped around the camera he was holding, allowing him to capture every scene as it happened. The individual recognized the possible hazards that could arise from interactions with individuals who held positions of authority. Nonetheless, he was a firm believer in the efficacy of openness and responsibility. His unwillingness to cooperate with the search request was motivated by a desire to safeguard his legal standing and make certain that an accurate account of the exchange was preserved. The camera served as his defense mechanism, recording an act of defiance for the sake of individual liberty and fairness. After questioning him for quite some time, the police officer decided to let him go. As soon as the man's shackles were taken off, the tension in the room subsided, but the incident left him with a bad taste in his mouth, and he decided to submit a formal complaint against the police officer. He felt his rights had been trampled upon and sought redress through the proper means. The incident was brought to light and the officer's actions were reevaluated as a result of the complaint, which prompted an internal investigation. By sharing his story, the man hoped to spare others from going through what he had. The ACLU supports people's rights to videotape police in public. The ACLU recently stressed law enforcement transparency and accountability. The organization reminded law enforcement officials nationwide that civilians have the right to film police interactions. The ACLU also empowered and protected anyone who recorded police contacts with detailed rules. The ACLU promotes recording to improve police-public relations. Ahmed Al-Manhali, a United Arab Emirates citizen, traveled to Avon, Ohio in June 2016 for medical treatment at the Cleveland Clinic. Upon arrival at the Fairland Inn and Suites, he was informed that the hotel was fully booked due to the Republican National Convention. Ahmed politely requested alternative accommodation options. While waiting in the lobby, a SWAT-style response occurred, with Avon officers arriving and detaining Ahmed, who was simply walking out of the hotel while on his phone.
On the ground, no! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Down! On the ground, do it now!
Get on your car.
Down!
Confused by the situation, Ahmed questioned the officers, but they handcuffed and searched him, damaging his phone in the process. They found a second phone, which Ahmed used for business purposes.
What the phone away! Cover the entrance, help me get back.
What is it?
Go.
What happened?
Despite no evidence of wrongdoing, the officers treated Ahmed as a terrorist, disregarding any investigation or backstory. Simultaneously, an officer spoke to the hotel receptionist who had made a 911 call, falsely claiming Ahmed had pledged allegiance to ISIS. The officer soon realized it was a false alarm and called off the search. Meanwhile, Ahmed collapsed and passed out, prompting paramedics to administer aid and to take him to a nearby hospital. The incident gained international attention, leading to the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Foreign Affairs to demand an apology from Avon officials. The mayor and police chief apologized to Ahmed, emphasizing that the incident did not reflect their community's values. Marriott International, the hotel's owner, expressed regret and committed to training to prevent similar occurrences.
You should not have been put in that situation like you were.
There were some false accusations made against you, and those are regrettable.
Mayor
Ahmed
Jensen
said in a statement, "This was a very unfortunate incident and does not reflect our community. Avon is proud to welcome visitors from the United Arab Emirates and other countries who regularly come to Northern Ohio for tourism, business, medical care, or education."
The settlement aimed to compensate Ahmed for physical, psychological, and financial damages. However, he still faced lasting emotional distress, was haunted by the officer's eyes, and experienced sleep disturbances. The incident highlighted the need for improved cultural understanding and sensitivity among law enforcement personnel. Here we have Brian Filipiak, a 47-year-old Washtenaw County Sheriff's Lieutenant, who was off duty when he got pulled over. Deputy Morrison, after stopping Lieutenant Filipiak, informed him about the reason for the traffic stop. Subsequently, Deputy Morrison inquired if Lieutenant Filipiak had consumed any alcoholic beverages that afternoon. In response, Lieutenant Filipiak acknowledged that he had indeed consumed a couple drinks. After Deputy Morrison confirmed Lieutenant Filipiak's identity, he returned to his vehicle and instructed the lieutenant to exit the truck for a field sobriety test. The purpose of the test was to assess whether Lieutenant Filipiak had consumed an excessive amount of alcohol, despite it being evident he was clearly unfit to drive. Exhibiting evident signs of severe intoxication, such as slurred speech and watery eyes, Lieutenant Filipiak left no room for doubt that he was heavily under the influence.
Okay, you got your ID?
However, despite this clear indication, Lieutenant Filipiak adamantly refused to comply with Deputy Morrison's request to step out of the vehicle. Instead, he insisted that Deputy Morrison should either allow him to return home or let him sleep it off on the side of the road. In response, Deputy Morrison firmly informed Lieutenant Filipiak that his options were limited and made it clear that he would not allow him to be released in his current condition.
Multiple reckless driving calls about you. Okay? And then when I'm calling you, you're hitting the shoulder of the road. You been drinking? How many?
Just a couple.
Okay. Where are you reaching in the back for? I seen you reaching in the back. You have an open container back there? Okay, you been drinking on the way here?
Oh.
Got your registration, proof of insurance? Do you have a firearm on you? Okay. Do you got your pistol? Are you a corrections officer or just
Deputy. Lieutenant? Okay.
Despite Deputy Morrison's persistent attempts to persuade Lieutenant Filipiak to exit the vehicle, the latter remained adamant in his repeated request to be released. He proceeded to assert that Deputy Morrison's job would not be jeopardized if he let the situation slide, emphasizing the potential consequences for himself if the matter were pursued.
Brian, I'm going to have you step out of the car. I'm going to do a field sobriety test for you. Okay?
However, Deputy Morrison understood that ignoring the incident would not only lead to his termination, but also result in misdemeanor charges carrying a penalty of up to 1 year of imprisonment or a fine of $1,000. Deputy Morrison was fully aware of the extent of Lieutenant Filipiak's intoxication, as he had allegedly observed the lieutenant discarding open containers in the back seat during the traffic stop.
I'm going to ask you to step out of the vehicle. What would you like me to do?
Just let me.
I can't. I had multiple phone calls. You'd be in the same situation if I was in the vehicle in your county, correct?
All right, just let me stay here.
You can't. I'm going to ask you nicely to step out of this vehicle. Brian, my hands are tied. If I let you go, I'm going to lose my career over you. You don't think I wouldn't? This is northern Michigan. We're a small department. Okay, I'm going to ask you nicely to step out of the vehicle. You know I have my job to do. You know that.
Yeah, and I just want you to...
And I understand your point, your position. Okay, I'm trying to be as cooperative and nice to you as I can.
Despite Deputy Morrison's continuous efforts in trying to have Lieutenant Filipiak step out of the vehicle,
after nearly 5 minutes of persistent requests for Lieutenant Filipiak to exit the vehicle,
just let me go.
I'm not. I can't let you go. We're way past that point. You know this. You're a lieutenant. You know how this works.
Yeah, I do.
You would tell one of your deputies if they called you right on the side of the road and they asked you what to do. So, if one of your deputies is in the position as I am right now, calling you as a lieutenant, Lieutenant, this is what I got. What should I do? You're just going to say let him go? Why? Just because. You're intoxicated. I know it. You've opened alcohol in the vehicle that you're passing back. I know it. You know it. You can't have been God. Ryan, out of this vehicle. I'm asking you nicely. I don't want to see anything worse happen. Okay?
Deputy Morrison, having reached the limits of his patience, opened the door and firmly instructed the lieutenant to step out, avoiding any need for further escalation. Deputy Morrison proceeded to inform Lieutenant Filipiak that he would be arrested for refusal to comply if he persisted in refusing to exit the vehicle. RNO, an abbreviation for resisting and obstructing a police officer, is a felony offense that carries a penalty of up to 2 years of imprisonment, a fine of $2,000, or both. After an additional 5 minutes had passed, Deputy Morrison cautioned Lieutenant Filipiak that he would be tased if he continued to resist compliance with his instructions. Consequently, Deputy Morrison retrieved his taser and aimed it at the lieutenant, while firmly warning him that failure to comply would result in being tased. Deputy Morrison even considered using the backup taser at that moment. In this situation, Deputy Morrison possessed the authority to employ his taser and would not have faced repercussions for doing so. Fortunately, the threat of being tased successfully persuaded Lieutenant Filipiak to finally exit the vehicle. As anticipated, Deputy Morrison did not tolerate Lieutenant Filipiak's resistance, instructed Lieutenant Filipiak to occupy the back seat of his patrol car, intending to transport him to the police station. Despite Deputy Morrison's clear directive to sit in the car, Lieutenant Filipiak persisted in his refusal, stating, "I am who you guys are. Do you guys realize that?" This remark strongly indicated that Lieutenant Filipiak was attempting to exploit his position of authority, seeking a preferential treatment based on his status.
All right, we're done with this.
Hold on.
Talk to me. Yes or no? Are you doing field sobriety tests?
All right, so if this was the other situation...
Lieutenant Filipiak clearly held the belief that he was exempt from abiding by the law. However, the officers present at the scene were determined to make it evident that such was not the case. Following some further struggle, they managed to successfully place Lieutenant Filipiak inside the patrol car.
I'm not resisting, but let's stop.
You're tensed up.
Let's talk about it. Okay.
We've talked. I don't want to put you on the ground.
No,
I don't want to make this worse.
All right, I will just sleep it off.
Dude, stop it right now. You know? Stop it.
Allowing for his transportation to the police station where he would face the consequences of his actions. Subsequent breath tests conducted at the police station revealed that Filipiak's blood alcohol level registered at 0.28 and 0.27%. For context, the legal limit for operating a motor vehicle in the United States is a mere 0.08%.
What happens? We're going to take you to the jail and ask for a data master. If you refuse that, we're going to get a search warrant for your blood. Brian, have a seat.
Stop, guys. Hold on.
Therefore, Lieutenant Filipiak's blood alcohol concentration was over 3 times the legal limit, subjecting him to Michigan State's super drunk law, which carries penalties of up to 180 days in jail, fines of up to $700, and up to 360 hours of community service. So it's time to watch our next case. On July 26, 2021, the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety received a distress call from a female resident of Colton Village Townhomes in Orangeburg, South Carolina. The caller reported that a man was vigorously banging on her door and window, attempting to gain entry. Furthermore, she alleged that the man possessed a firearm tucked into the waistband of his jean shorts. In response, dispatch promptly directed all officers in the vicinity to respond without delay. Officer David Lance Dukes arrived as the first responder at the scene. With his firearm drawn, Officer Dukes exited his patrol car and proceeded to instruct a 58-year-old disabled man, along with his cousin DeMario Julian, to immediately lie on the ground. At this juncture, it was evident from the body camera footage that Mr. Gillard was complying with Officer Dukes' commands. The recording captured Mr. Gillard raising his hands in the air and proceeding to lower himself onto his hands and knees as directed by the officer. However, before Mr. Gillard could fully assume the prone position on the ground, Officer Dukes unexpectedly and forcefully stomped on Mr. Gillard's neck. The impact caused Mr. Gillard's head to forcefully strike the pavement, resulting in a bruised forehead. Subsequent investigations revealed that Mr. Gillard's delay in complying was due to the presence of metal rods and pins in his leg and hip as a result of a previous injury. Following the aggressive act, Officer Dukes promptly restrained Mr. Gillard by placing him in handcuffs. Immediately afterward, Officer Dukes informed a second officer at the scene that there should be a gun behind Mr. Gillard, suggesting that Mr. Gillard had allegedly left a firearm behind the white SUV where he had been positioned prior to the confrontation.
There's a gun behind me. There's a gun, I believe, behind me.
I ain't got no gun there.
Mr. Gillard assured Officer Dukes that there was no gun present, and upon a quick examination, the second officer confirmed the absence of any firearm. Officer Dukes proceeded to conduct a search of Mr. Gillard's person, accusing him of failing to comply with orders. However, as evident in the earlier body camera footage, Mr. Gillard had been complying with Officer Dukes' commands from the beginning. Not once did Mr. Gillard exhibit any behavior it could be perceived as a threat, thereby negating Officer Dukes' justification for excusing excessive force against him. Once Officer Dukes ensured that Mr. Gillard did not possess a firearm, he decided to search the vicinity of the SUV himself in hopes of locating the alleged weapon. It swiftly became apparent that there was no gun to be found. Instead, it was discovered that Mr. Gillard had been carrying a stick wrapped in shiny silver tape, which he typically used as protection against aggressive stray dogs. Officer Dukes and the second officer helped Mr. Gillard back up onto his feet, at which point he began expressing his dissatisfaction regarding the unnecessary impact of his head on the concrete. The visible injury to Mr. Gillard's forehead, marked by a bruise and swelling, further supported his claim. In response to Mr. Gillard's confrontation regarding the incident, Officer Dukes provided a reply. At this point, it became apparent that Mr. Gillard was in need of medical attention. However, neither of the officers present on the scene initially took this into consideration. Fortunately, Officer Queenie Polidor arrived and promptly recognized the necessity for emergency medical services, requesting EMS assistance. As Mr. Gillard continued to express his grievances regarding the incident, Officer Dukes approached Officer Polidor and another responding officer to inform them about the situation. However, Officer Dukes' account was far from truthful. He claimed that when Mr. Gillard walked in front of the SUV, he believed Mr. Gillard was carrying a gun and repeatedly instructed him to drop it. Officer Dukes made further allegations claiming Mr. Gillard had his hands in his pockets and repeatedly ignored requests to show his hands. However, the body camera footage once again contradicted Officer Dukes' statements.
He was in front of the car when I came up, and he was walking like this. And I thought it was a gun at first. I said, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. I had him at gunpoint.
Clearly showing Mr. Gillard complying with the orders by keeping his hands raised above his head. Officer Dukes mentioned to a fellow officer that he wanted to take the stick as evidence, stating that it was the reason for his actions. In response, the fellow officer promptly questioned the necessity of using the stick as evidence, pointing out that the body camera footage would suffice. EMS arrived at the scene to attend to Mr. Gallard's condition. While Mr. Gallard was being examined, Mr. Julian approached Officer Dukes and requested a card with his details on it. In response, Officer Dukes promptly informed Mr. Julian that he did not possess a card and clarified that the department did not issue such cards in any case. Officer Polidor quickly recognized Officer Duke's misstatement and promptly corrected him. She asserted that they indeed possessed cards and proceeded to provide Mr. Julian with her own cards as requested. On July 31, 2022, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division announced that Officer Dukes was taken into custody and charged with first-degree assault and battery. Several months later, in November 2021, Mr. Gallard received a compensation settlement of $650,000 from Orangeburg, South Carolina. City officials additionally expressed their commitment to establishing a citizens task force to provide oversight and guidance regarding interactions between residents and the Orangeburg police.